Hi, I'm Deborah, and today I want to share one of my reflections. I'm always reflecting on different experiences in life because I feel that so much of the benefit or the wisdom that we can gain from different experiences comes through reflection. We actually have to take a different perspective on things and look at our experiences in a new light. So one of the experiences that I have been reflecting on is, lessons learned from being in a relationship with a narcissist. And I definitely believe that there is a lesson in every experience, no matter how challenging, no matter how seemingly difficult, even if we feel like we regret it or we made a mistake. There is definitely always a lesson for us to learn. So I made the mistake of falling in love with a narcissist. And of course, from a spiritual perspective now, I realized there were no mistakes. It was meant to happen. And as uncomfortable, challenging, and at times devastating that it was also exactly what I needed. And so I'm sharing these reflections on spiritual lessons learned from dating a narcissist because I feel like there's wisdom that we can gain from our experiences. And you usually can't gain that wisdom right away. You usually can't access it right away when the experience is fresh. It often takes time and healing to be able to get to the point where you can actually glean the wisdom from an experience. But I'm sharing this today to give hope to any of you listening who have experienced challenges, unwanted experiences, regrets, like devastating or horrific experiences. I want you to know that you can still get something from that experience that can make you stronger, but it will take time and healing. So when I dated this narcissist, narcissism was not the buzzword it is now. I didn't know what a narcissist was. I didn't realize that there were people like this. I think I was quite naive. Even though I was an adult and I was doing spiritual work and personal growth, I was definitely naive and had my own wounds. And that's what allowed me to enter into a relationship with a narcissist. Of course, he did all the classic narcissist things, the love bombing, the gaslighting, the push and pull, the breadcrumbing, just all the stuff that reels you in, and then also the victim stuff, all the classic stuff. And, maybe at another time I'll talk about what was wrong there, what the red flags that I ignored, which in retrospect were many. But I'm in a place today of really, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful, because if you experienced a narcissist, you know how devastating it can be, how much it can mess with your head and your whole life. So I'm really grateful today to be in a place where I can actually talk about the positives, the benefits, the learning, the wisdom I've gained from being in an awful relationship. It was really terrible. Definitely the worst relationship of my life. But let's focus on the positive. So, because I'm in that place now where I can do that. Man, it took a long time. If you're out there still trying to heal, I want you to know it's coming. You do have to work for the healing. It doesn't just come like, in a snap. It takes work. You work for that healing, but it's worth it, because you don't need to stay stuck. You don't need to stay victimized and in a victim mentality and thinking about what, this person did to you. So, one of the things that has become apparent to me in reflection is that I had beliefs and perspectives that I was not aware of that allowed me to enter into a relationship with a narcissist. And at the time, if you asked me if I held any of these perspectives or beliefs, I would have said no. So one of those things is I didn't really love myself. And if you had asked me at the time if I loved myself, I would have said, of course I love myself. I take good care of myself. I'm trying to be good to myself. I reward myself, like all these things. But I didn't realize that I didn't really love myself to the core, where I would choose myself and put myself first above anything else or anyone else. In my mind, I thought that's what I was doing, except when I was just being generous and, selfless and being a nice person. But I didn't truly love myself the way that I now do, the way that I need to grow into my best self, to be the best version of me. So that was one of my, sort of like internal beliefs, that I didn't love myself and I didn't feel worthy of love. Again, I would have never expressed it that way at the time, but only in retrospect can I see that. I didn't feel worthy and I wanted to prove something. One of the other things I was not aware of is that I was desperate to be loved. I wanted a romantic partner so bad. And, I had a rough childhood. I've had, my share of traumatic experiences, abuse of different kinds, all that stuff. And from the time I was probably a teenager, I felt like if I could just find the right person, because I just felt like I had so much love to give. If I could just find the right person who could love me back, I would just give them all this love that I have to give in my heart, and we could ride off into the sunset together. And I was desperate for it. I felt like it would completely complete me and just complete my life. And what I didn't realize at the time was that I was willing to sell myself out for that, because I thought that it would make me worthy. If someone else could love me as much as I love them, if they could give me their love, it could make me feel worthy, and I'd be able to feel whole and complete and feel like I really matter and I was worthy. But again, I wasn't aware of this belief at the time. I thought I was a healthy, well-formed individual who was doing my growth and my work, and certainly needed work, but I didn't realize the depths of these issues and how they were hidden. And the other thing that I didn't realize was that I basically had a codependent personality. That's what people would call it now. I think of it as just overgiving, being nice, wanting so badly to be accepted that, okay, I'll just give you the shirt off my back. I'll give you everything. If you just love me, if you'll just make me feel like I matter and make me feel worthy. And so in the process of that relationship, I lost a lot. I lost financial resources. I lost dignity. I lost some self-respect for myself at the time. I lost a sense of safety and my sense of self. And I gave it up because I thought, if I can just prove to this person how much I love them, because that's what they say they need, then everything will be okay. And I'll feel complete and they'll feel complete and we can ride off into the sunset together. I ignored red flags, all the classic things that someone you have to do to stay in a relationship with a narcissist or someone who's abusive. So I can see all that now, but what I can also see now are the lessons. And one of the biggest lessons I learned from being in a relationship with a narcissist is to love myself. like I said, I thought I loved myself before. I thought loving myself was, I don't know, working out, eating healthy, taking care of myself. I mean, those are important. That's part of loving yourself. But I didn't realize that I had this core wound of feeling unworthy, and that I truly didn't feel like I was worthy of love unless someone else loved me. Like, loving myself in isolation was just not sufficient for me. That did not provide me with validation that I felt like I needed. I felt like I really needed someone else to give me validation and love me to make me feel worthy. And it really points to this idea that if you have these kinds of wounds, man, it's rough. I mean, we all have wounds, but if they're unhealed and you allow them to guide your decision making and your actions, man, you're in for a rough time. You are going to do things and choose things and people that are coming from a wounded place and that are truly not necessarily the best for you. So, yeah, I realized that I didn't love myself, and what I had to do, I had to go through this awful experience to realize, number one, that I didn't love myself, and then to actually learn how to love myself. I had to learn what it is to truly love myself, what that looks like, what that requires. I had to learn how to really put myself first. I had this habit of overgiving and being nice in order to get validation. So just being so agreeable, bend over backwards for other people, even when it was inconvenient to me, even when it actually was to my detriment, because I needed the validation. I was a great employee because I didn't even do it for anyone specifically, but I needed to excel to get validation. And so anyway, that was one of the things I learned from that relationship, was that I didn't love myself, and then how to love myself and what that looks like. And what it looks like for me now is really, really checking in with myself about what I need and giving it to myself and speaking up even when it's uncomfortable, because the parts of me that need to be protected and cared for need me to speak up and show love to them by protecting them and putting myself first. So that learning to love myself and learning to stop overgiving and giving myself away and just trying to be too nice to everyone in order to get validation were two really great lessons I learned from that relationship. I learned how to not compromise myself and negotiate myself. I had to go through that awful experience to get to the point now where I'm not going to negotiate my value or self-worth. I will walk away. There is no price that is worth my self-respect, my dignity, my sovereignty, my independence, my sense of self-worth. One of the other lessons that I learned is that who you're with matters, who you're around matters. The people you let into your life really matter, and certainly choosing the right partner matters. When you connect to people, you connect to their energy, you share orbits, energetically, you're in each other's quantum orbit, and you affect each other. And so if you've got negative people in your life, abusive people, people that don't treat you right or don't treat others right, it has an effect on you. And you have to it pays to be conscious of it, to be aware of it, and to really use your discretion, use your intuition to choose who you're with, who you're around. Pay attention to the red flags. Watch how people behave. Watch what they do and say so that you can choose carefully who you want to be with, who you want to be around. And who you choose for a partner is a big deal. For years, I chose from a wounded place because I just wanted to be around someone. I mean, if they're good and they seem good enough, even though they're filled with red flags for me. So yeah, I learned that who you're with, who you're around really matters. Don't make space in your life for people that are miserable, mean, abusive, dishonest, lack integrity, selfish. Like, I don't care who they are. You know, I understand we all have obligations. We have family, we have work, and sometimes you just have to be around people for different reasons, but keep that to a minimum. You don't really owe anybody anything. You know, do what you feel like you need to do to sleep at night, but really know that there's a price to pay for letting those people into your world. So that's one of the lessons I learned, is it matters who's in your life and who you let in. The other thing I learned is that there's bad people in the world, which sounds like so naive, but I knew there was bad people. I watched the news, you know. I seen a true crime show or so back in the day. I don't watch those anymore, but I knew that bad people exist, but I was doing so much work on myself. I never dreamed that I would meet such a person and invite them into my life and fall in love with them. I thought I was so discerning. My ego really had me thinking that, number one, I'm trying to be in love and light. So why would I attract anybody that's negative or bad for me, right? And also, you know, I just had this idea that being spiritual and doing personal growth, I had discernment, that I had this great radar. I would be able to tell. But if you're wounded, you can't tell. If you're wounded, you make choices from a place of being wounded. And so that's why I say that was one of the lessons I learned as well, is if you're wounded, you're going to make not the best choices. But if you are conscious, those choices, which might seem challenging or result in challenging circumstances, can actually be used for your growth, which is what happened to me. You know, I did make choices from a wounded place, but it got me to this place that I'm in now, which is so whole and strong and complete. And I'm so grateful. I also learned resilience. I mean, I've been through a lot in my life. You know, I didn't have the hardest life, but I didn't have the easiest one either. And so I felt like I was pretty resilient. But that relationship was so devastating for me. I really had to rebuild my life from scratch. And yeah, I learned that I am resilient. And I learned that sometimes it can kind of be a good thing to start from scratch. Even though it's hard work, takes a lot of energy, and boy, you better have faith and trust and believe in yourself. But sometimes it's easier than trying to change everything and everyone in your life. You know, getting the slate wiped clean and starting from scratch can be a gift, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time. I also learned to trust myself. I saw red flags. I got messages from my guides. Deep down, I knew I wasn't on the right path, but I kept on choosing it. And I kept on saying I wanted it and thinking somehow it was going to work. You know, when you get so far down a road, especially in a relationship, you're like, man, I'm already this far in. If I could just make it work, then it's all worth it. So you just keep trying, even though it's not going anywhere. And sometimes you just have to, in my case, I really had to let it run its course and go through that difficulty to realize, oh, I need out. I've got to get out. You know, for me, it was when things started to get worse. The physical stuff started to happen. I was like, okay, I really got to go. There's no excuse for this. So that was definitely one of the lessons that I learned. And I also learned how to just really value the real ones in my life. Like, I really value and appreciate real people. I got a couple real people I have carried with me through the decades. I mean, literally a couple. I know people have had like friends since like childhood or high school. I'm not that person. And I certainly won't be your friend for decades for the sake of calling it that, like a long-term friendship, a lifelong friendship. That's nice, but not if it's not real. Not if we're not really adding to each other's lives. And so I really came to appreciate like this handful of people in my life that are real, that I want to keep around, and that, you know, we keep it real. We admit our mistakes. We own our stuff. We talk to each other. We're really willing to look at difficult things together. And, yeah, that was one of the really valuable things that came out of that experience. And I just really learned to trust myself. Like, now I trust my intuition completely, implicitly. I don't need to use logic. I don't need to rationalize why I'm doing what I'm doing. If it feels like that's what I should do, I'm going to do it. And I'll make another video about telling your really discerning between your intuition, your thoughts, your wants, your anxiety, whatever it is, because that can be a challenge at times. But I did really learn to trust myself, because I was getting the messages the whole time, but I didn't trust myself. I also didn't want to hear them. And now I live in a place of surrender where it's like, please guide me and show me, and I will do what is best, regardless of what I want, because what is best is not always what we want. So, yeah, I just had to share those lessons from being in a relationship with a narcissist. Like, I know a lot of people have experienced that, and it's awful. And there's levels, degrees of how horrific it can get, but none of it is good. But I want you to know that whether you're in a relationship with a narcissist, or you've left one, or you've got some other challenge in your life, you can gain resilience and strength from it. You can gain wisdom and discernment, but it may take time. You know, it will take time, and it will take healing, because for the longest time, I couldn't have this perspective on it. Like, it was so raw, such an open wound. I couldn't have any perspective on it. All I knew is I couldn't stand the guy, you know? And only because of the person I am, I didn't wish him ill, because I just felt like energetically I couldn't because of the karma from it. But man, I was like, universe, could you please take care of that dude? But now I don't even care. I don't care what happens to him. I care about myself and my joy and my love and my peace and my sense of wholeness and sovereignty. And so I just shared this today as just a word of comfort, maybe a glimmer of hope for any of you that are going through a difficult time. I want you to know there can come a day, if you choose to, where you can heal and have a whole new perspective and reap the rewards of your hard work of healing, so that you can learn lessons and gain wisdom from your challenging experiences. So that's all I have for now. Thanks for listening to me. And I also just want to say thank you to those of you who have watched my videos and subscribed or liked them. Like, it's very humbling. I hope that something I say is of value and touches you and helps you to raise your consciousness so that you can be the best version of yourself, because that's what I want for you. And that's all I have to say. I'm sending love to each and every one of you. Take care.